Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, a real estate podcast by locals. I'm Peter Zalewski, condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. I'm joined here by my partner in this podcast, the co-host, the moderator, no one else but Daniel Hernandez. He works over at Compass Real Estate, where he's a real estate advisor. He does single-family houses as well as condos. Daniel, happy symbolic peak of the winter buying season. This is the weekend we've all been waiting for. This is it. The weather is perfect. The traffic is out of control on one side of the city. You have the Coconut Grove Arts Festival. The other side, you got the Miami Beach International Boat Show. It is going to be bedlam, bedlam, bedlam. So how does it feel to be up at the pinnacle looking down on that beautiful view?
I live in Coral Gables. It took me 35 minutes to get 3 miles about to my office at Monty's yesterday. That's about right. Yeah, the traffic is real. Somebody asked me to go to Miami Beach this afternoon, and I said, A, I got buy, sell, hold Miami. B, I can't get there before 8 o'clock. It's crazy. Crazy.
Listen, I'm not surprised they're asking you to go to lunch. Why? Because everywhere I look on social media, you are everywhere. Man, you are everywhere. Whatever you're doing on social media is exceptional. I'm seeing shorts, I'm seeing reels, I'm seeing long. Dude, you are everywhere. Kudos to you and your initiative because people cannot avoid you. They can't miss you. And I'm sure you're giving them good information. So kudos to you and applause. Golf clap.
Thank you. I can't take credit for it. I got a great social media guy. He's fantastic. He's the reason why I look so pretty these days. And yeah, props to him. Thanks, Joshua. If you're just joining us for the first time today, episode 39, we're almost at the big 4-0. That's about as old as you are, huh, Peter?
More or less.
More or less. Well, if you're just joining us for the first time today, buy, sell, hold Miami. So you got these two ugly mugs to look at or listen to for the next hour or so. If you look at the bottom left of your screen, over on this way, you'll see 5 topics. That's the rundown, guys. So every week, back and forth, Peter and I, we suggest topics to discuss to one another for buy, sell, hold. And then at the end of each topic, we got them for 7-10 minutes each. We're going to either buy, we agree with it, sell, we don't agree with it, or, I don't know, hold. I just want to sit and wait and eat my popcorn. But jumping right into it, Peter, public input? So Peter, every 7 years, it's actually an awfully long time, the Florida statute requires community input for something they call the Comprehensive Development Master Plan, so the CDMP. And the CDMP it's effectively, it's a blueprint, right? It's how we're going to develop the UDB, the Urban Development Boundary, is a big talking point in this. And so over the next several weeks, at libraries, at certain sites throughout the county, they're effectively going to host these workshops where people can go in, fill out comment cards, public discourse. I mean, this is real urban planning democracy at its best, right? And so that plan is taken together, and then the state has to, or I'm sorry, the county has an evaluation and appraisal report, or an EAR. I don't really love that acronym, but it's called an EAR. And then with that, we're trying to overcome the obstacles over the next 10 or 20 years of development, right? So anybody who's not from down here, you might look at a map and you see Miami-Dade County. And what a lot of people don't realize is, yeah, everybody knows the Everglades out to the west. But to the east, it's also another national park. Biscayne Bay is a national park. So we're bordered in by these 2 national parks. And then, by the way, if you just moved down here from out of state or out of country, if you drive all the way down to Key West, we also have Dry Tortugas National Park off the coast, which is beautiful. It's like snorkeling in an aquarium. But we're surrounded by ecology, by environment, by nature. And then within Miami-Dade County, we have something called the UDB, which is the Urban Development Boundary. So we can build, and then you hit this line, and you can't build 1,000 units an acre anymore. I think, and the zoning changes, but I think it's about 1 single-family residence per 5 acres in the UDB, outside the UDB, Peter? Is that right?
Yeah, somewhere in and around there. Yeah, it's meant to be like a homestead, somebody who's like out in the sticks. I'm not talking Ted Kaczynski. I'm not talking Ted Kaczynski style, but somebody who basically likes a buffer.
So anybody who's been following the urban development boundary, and this is a cat and mouse game, right? You have developers on one side that are saying, hey, we need to build, 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 build. We're surrounded by national parks. We have this UDB in place, and we don't have any space. Dirt's really expensive, so let's extend the UDB. The problem with that is that as it sits currently, the status quo, if I may, is that there needs to be a ton of environmental studies, and then within the county commission, they have to win over a supermajority. And here in our county commission, we have 13 commissioners, so a supermajority is 9 votes. And this is always contentious, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. There's a new House bill that's been proposed, Peter.
Tell me more.
So a gentleman from Hialeah, a gentleman by the name of David Barrero, he's a Republican from District 111, he's put forward HB 399, which does a lot of things, and I'm not an attorney, and nor am I in politics or up in Tallahassee with my finger on that pulse, but I did go through this, and what HB 399 effectively does, it erases a supermajority. So all this does is now, instead of needing 9 votes to move the UDB, as I understand it, you would just need 7. And those 2 votes...
Move the goalpost? Are you talking about moving the goalpost?
We're moving the goalpost. And so Mayor Daniela Vincava, who is not a fan of this at all, she's up in Tallahassee this week, or was up in Tallahassee this week, speaking out against this, because this, how much money does it take in special interest dollars to gain a vote on the city commission, on the county commission, in terms of the UDB? I mean, I'm not talking about building a dog park down the street. I mean, I'm talking about serious, this is probably the most consequential zoning change that could ever happen in the county.
And they've been talking about it a while, Daniel. They've been talking about it a while. Let me take you back. In the 90s, there was a guy called Thomas Kramer. He wanted to put in place a casino, and he thought when the economy went to hell, they were going to go ahead and bring in the casino. They were going to have it on the beach. Then there was a movement. Well, hey, if you're doing that, let's go ahead into the Everglades. So they talked about moving the UDB. Then fast forward when we had another boom going between 2002 to 2011. Let's go ahead and move the UDB. Who drives a lot of this is Lennar. Lennar's a large single-family home builder. They are based here in Miami. They're out by Doral, over by the Burger King building. They're always pushing for it. They're always lobbying it. Everybody wants to move the UDB. And what's interesting, next time you watch the Weather Channel, it doesn't matter if you watch the English-speaking or the Spanish-speaking. I tend to prefer the Spanish-speaking for whatever reason. But if you look at the map, you're going to see on the UDB, you'll see the lake, Lake Okeechobee in Palm Beach County. Then you go down in Broward County, go way the hell west. And then you come down to Miami-Dade County, and it's going to get hemmed in. It's going to be very narrow. Some of that has to do with the fact that we had somebody called Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. She was over in Coconut Grove. Her house still stands. She wrote a book called River of Grass, and that brought ultimately the national park system that came here. So because of that, because of the Everglades, because of the, let's say, ecological aspect of Miami-Dade County, we've been much more firm, and a lot more people have pushed back against it versus Broward County, where they said, screw it, let's just go all the way over to Collier County, wherever the hell we're going to go. So where am I sort of going with all this? They do this every single time we were at a peak in a market, and then what happens? The market craps out, and once the market does crap out, what do we find? We find that we already have the infrastructure in place, and we can do something called infill development. I want everybody to think of maybe when you were a kid. When I was a kid, I played baseball. And what we did, we took a rubber ball, we threw it against the wall, and somebody would bet, and we would chalk out the strike zone. And the ball would come back. That's what the UDB is. The UDB is that wall. And effectively what they're doing is when we hit a peak, we hit that, the ball hits the wall, it bounced back, and what do? You then start to do infill development. That is the future infill development. We got plenty of infrastructure ready laid out. We got plenty of dirt that's readily available, but yet somehow they want to go west. Why do they want to go west? Because it means a ton more jobs and a ton more things. But don't underestimate the underlying premise of all this. Property tax. Property tax is 2% of the value. 1/3 goes to the city, 1/3 goes to the county, 1/3 goes to the school board. Therefore, this is the way you fill the coffers. Maybe they're going to make the argument we're $404 million over in terms of our deficit this year. Maybe that's going to be the cause. But at the end of the day, there's plenty of dirt. There's plenty of spaces to build. It's just a matter of, is you going to do new, or are you going to do something that's less efficient and going block by block, lot by lot? And that's what we ought to be focusing on, not reclaiming Everglades and and basically draining it and created even more traffic havoc.
That's interesting. So, I mean, was it Lennar who was lobbying for that big development down south to push the UDB, and they vetoed it, right? This was in the last couple of years.
It tends to be the usual players. Lennar's always going to be actively involved. Then you got some of the money guys over in Miami Beach. Some of them have acquired dirt or they're buying dirt. They buy it at an agricultural price. Therefore, it's cheap. And therefore, if you can go ahead and you're able to ultimately get it approved with the UDB, now you've just had a significant value overnight.
Oh, so you're saying they're doing some sort of like political special interest lobbying arbitrage where you buy an agricultural zoning, you get the law changed, and then automatically, bam, you're entitled for, however many thousands of units per acre. Ah, that's a very interesting playbook. So that could be cheaper than buying in the central business district and then going through the whole live local process, right? Isn't it like the same? You're doing the same sort of thing.
Yeah, it's land banking 101. You buy a piece of dirt, you sit on it long enough, you let the zoning change. Overnight, you suddenly have this great, valuable piece of dirt. If anybody remembers out in Durrell, if you guys go out to Durrell before they got incorporated, before they sort of changed the streets, up there about 36th Street, which would be 41st Street in Durrell. I know it's all confusing, but if you go way to hell west, right before you get to the turnpike, you would have all of these freight forwarders, million square foot distribution centers. Why? Because they want to be close to Miami International Airport. They also want to be close to the ports down here. And right in the middle of it, across from a Chick-fil-A and $1 million German freight forwarder, you got this nice little paddock filled with cows, slowly eating.
Oh, and what were they doing? To have the cows there to count it as agricultural for tax purposes.
100%. So all of this is strategic. All of this makes sense. And if you're going to go forward and you're going to get the public to believe that you need to move the UDB, remember the Everglades, move all that, forget about the alligator, forget about the roseate spoonbill, forget about the panther. If you want to do that, you do it at a time when everybody's talking about, well, guess what's the word? The A word, affordability. This is the perfect time to push it down everybody's throat. And by the time the market corrects, everybody's going to be like, why the hell did we move that line? That would be my argument.
So is this whole EAR and CDMP public input process I don't mean to be cynical. This isn't a cynical statement at all, but like, are residents under some sort of illusion that a strongly worded CDMP and full comment box will by themselves stop the fringe sprawl? Or like, should I be driving out to Hialeah? Because that's where Dade County likes to make their votes, right? So should I be driving out to the middle of nowhere to fill out a comment card? Is anybody really going to be listening, or am I just shouting in a forest here?
For 100 years, we have been driving this economy. Remember, we don't have state income tax. 100 years, we've been driving this economy based on real estate development. It makes the world go around here. And as a result of that, they're going to continue to come over and over and over. But, Daniel, let me give you some good news. We got a bunch of boys and women, bunch of boys coming from California. What does California care about? They care about the environment. They care about all the touchy-feely hugging the trees. You got to wonder if maybe some of these newcomers maybe start to throw around some political weight. I know we're going to be talking about a story later on, but let's just hope some of our California transplants that have come here, some of them recognize how beautiful this place is. Somebody recognizes the clouds. They recognize the Everglades for what they are. They recognize all of that, and they start to step forward and say, no, this isn't necessarily a good thing. We don't necessarily want that. So that would be my long-term bet, my hope that maybe we'll get some pushback on it. But as soon as you got a downturn in the economy, moving to UDB is not going to make any sense to anybody. Why? Infrastructure costs. The amount of money it takes to basically put in infrastructure. You got to pie the swamp. You got to kick out the alligators. You got to kick out the...
No, they just turned it into a CDD, a community development district. They bond it out. They leave the home buyers with the community bond for the next 30 years. It's as long as a mortgage. And then the residents pay for it. I mean, that's what the community development district effectively is.
But at the end of the day, you still have to go through the process putting it on. Let me sort of give you a perspective. So Miami International Airport was Pan Am Field before, and I'm getting a lot of this from research. I'm doing a tour this weekend of Coral Gables, so I've been researching the Gables. So when they set up Pan Am Field, which would ultimately become Miami International Airport, it was out in the sticks. And then what happened? We grew past it. We moved to UDB. We did a variety of different things. What if all of these let's call them cement facilities where they dynamite the shit out of the Everglades, they pull up all the dirt, they grind it up, and this is how we
The
build a lot of our
limestone
condos.
quarries.
The limestone quarries out there by Miccosukee. Daniel, what if they moved to UDB and before you know it, just like Miami International Airport used to be in the sticks and now it's all built around there, what if these limestone quarries are suddenly just in the middle of development we got going on west of there? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's the concept you need to think. Right now, what separates developable from the Everglades and the alligators is an arbitrary line. Arbitrary line. It's called Chrome Avenue for the most part, but that's all it is that separates it. It is like gerrymandering. So all you do is change that line a little bit, and all of a sudden people
Right,
can
it's
build,
not a
and you can
straight
bring in a
line.
lot more property tax. Yep.
We need to move on to the next topic. In another week, one of our, actually, I think it was Ralph. Ralph told us about the limestone quarry litigation. People actually living out by these limestone quarries, and dynamite, boom, and now all the foundations. For another day, need to stay on topic. Buy, sell, hold, public input. They gonna listen?
I'm a buy on the public impact, and I'm hoping our California transplants and maybe some of those from upstate New York who've come down here, I'm hoping that they bring out their ecological characteristics and we push back against this once and for all.
I'm holding because I gotta hold and see and hope that they do. Maybe they'll be as philanthropic as Ken Billions. Ken Billions has been fantastically philanthropic in this town, and there are plenty of bazillionaires. That's my way of saying billionaires coming down with them. Moving on. Speaking of California, California dreaming no more. Peter, I don't know if you saw. No one knows which house he's buying on Indian Creek, but Mark Zuckerberg reportedly is buying a house on Indian Creek, somewhere to the tune of 100 to 200 million. It's a big swing, but who cares? He can afford it. Why is he doing that? Why is every freaking week there's another guy from California moving over here? I looked into it, Peter. So Gavin Newsom, and actually Gavin Newsom is against this wealth tax, or at least he says he is, at least in the reports that I've read, he is against this proposed 5% one-time net worth wealth tax if you have more than $1 billion. Quick math, if you have $1 billion, $50 million. A lot of these guys have way more than $1 billion. Say you got $10 billion. That's $500 million. So all of a sudden, a $140 million house in Indian Creek doesn't look that expensive. And look, all of these publications, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, what have you, oh, they're moving here because of the California wealth tax. Well, guess what, Peter? If they didn't move, if they didn't get their residency before January 1st of 26, wealth tax is retroactive, so they're screwed anyway. So unless you saw the writing on the wall, if you're moving in March, sorry, pal, they might ding you, right? This has gone to a referendum in the state of California multiple times, and it hasn't gotten passed. But I think there's enough, or from what I see, there's enough turmoil happening in California that they might actually pass it this time. And these billionaires are effectively voting with their feet. They're saying, you know what? You might be right, Daniel Hernandez. Off to Miami we go. And honestly, not a bad gig for them, right? It's not like we're asking them to move to Cleveland. Oh, no, you got to move to Miami. Awful, awful, awful. So California dreaming no more. And also, something you and I talked about. I think when the mayors of our respective municipalities were buying ads up in Times Square a few months ago in the dead of winter, right? And actually, it wasn't in the dead of winter. It was in the fall, in the most beautiful time. They missed it by a couple months. But Stephen Meyer, some other folks, I think Steve Ross, Russell Galbett was backing one of these billboards up in Times Square. Basically, move to Palm Beach, move to Miami. And you were commenting that the last time that the Tri-County areas really worked together was when everybody was begging Amazon to move a headquarters down here. And guess what? They're still competing against each other. The only people who have decided, hey, maybe we should join forces and create sort of an alliance of South Florida, because look, a lot of these Californians and New Yorkers moving down here, they look at South Florida as a region. You don't look at Palm Beach as a piece of South Florida. But, I think Miami is Miami, but if you're coming down from New York, you look at South Florida on a map, it's all kind of like the same hodgepodge to you. It's like, oh, I live in Boca and take the Bright Line, take the train down to Miami. We don't do that because we're from here, or you've been here for long enough that you can say you're from here. So Ken Griffin and Jeff Bezos have gotten together and they've created this alliance, I think it's called the Accelerator Alliance or some hoity-toity name. And so they're putting money in this war chest to get not only people, because we just said the Californians are moving down here already, but to get businesses to move down here. It's like, hey, look, I did it. Peter, you're rolling your eyes at me. Are you going to tell me Jeff Bezos doesn't build anything anymore and he's just here partying?
Boy, where to go back. Book called Bubble in the Sun. If you have not read it, read the book Bubble in the Sun.
Wall Street of the South, Peter.
Bubble in the Sun lays it all out. When Henry Flagler brings his train down, old man Flagler, he goes after the wealthy, older types. Let's say risk adverse. Carl Fisher comes down from Indianapolis after he creates the Indianapolis 500, makes a ton of cash on headlights back on the Model T, stuff like that. He tries to compete with Henry Flagler, old man Flagler, for the older types. And you know what he realizes? The older types don't want to be in Miami. They are younger people. They are adrenaline junkies. They might also have an addiction. He caters to that. Even though you got something called the Volstead Act and you got prohibition, he says, screw it. I'm going to be a rum runner. He's bringing in booze. He is getting them all liquored up so he can sell lots on Miami Beach. We have a distinction in this market. We have a barbell in this market. If you are old and conservative, you're going to Palm Beach County. If you're younger and prone to be addicted, you're coming to Miami-Dade County. That's the way it breaks out. And basically, if you're the servants working either of these, you're going to Broward County. That's how it works out. The numbers show it. Old man Fisher, Carl Fisher, he's actually quoted based on letters that he wrote 100 years ago during the great South Florida land boom and bust. So what I'm sort of telling you is we are distinctly different. This is a house like on Thanksgiving where everybody's got political opinions about a variety of different things. These three groups will never work together. They're not going to work together. And guess what? You get Jeff Bezos, who I think is originally from here. He's got roots here. And you got Ken Billions, who's got roots here. I think Boca Raton originally, but made his money up in Chicago. Are you going to listen to out-of-towners? They might have been here from here, but they were sculpted. They came into their being.
They're very sculpted now. They work out.
Are you going to listen to out-of-towners coming down here and telling us how to do better? Daniel, have we heard that before? Didn't we just talk about how an Argentinian family that does grocery stores, they came up here and they told Hugo Colombo, who's a condo developer, listen, you don't know what you're going to do with your dirt. We're going to pay you more. We're going to put up a tower, and now it's in litigation. And I'm talking about the Aston Martin. Every single time this happens, out-of-towners come here and they say, listen, you guys are country bumpkins. You don't know anything. We're going to show you how it's done. And you know what happens each and every time, Daniel? The locals sit back and they pounce. In this situation, maybe they're just simply going to collect all the donations, all the campaign money, whatever the case is going to be. It never works. Bringing your school of thought and applying it to South Florida does not work unless you understand how it breaks out. Palm Beach County, old money, risk averse. Miami-Dade County, addictive-oriented, adrenaline. Broward County, the servants that cater to both counties.
Wow. Should we just end the show right there? I don't even know what to say to that, Peter. Peter,
am I wrong?
I can't. I don't have a good retort for you. What I do know is that sales volume across state, probably across the Tri-County area, is down. Despite that, and this is Tri-County, not just talking about Dade, the absolute numbers are up and up and up. I think Miami-Dade County last year had, 40-something% cash buyers. Foreign was like 80%. The dollar amounts are just, what's the word I'm looking for? They're addictive. Maybe that's why I'm here.
Listen, can I give you some input? Let me give you some input. So we're taking a look at the first half of the winter buying season, November through January, looking year over year. And you know what we found? Miami Beach is down, Coral Gables is down, downtown Miami's down, Hollywood's down, Fort Lauderdale's down. You know what's up? West Palm Beach. Why? The power structure of Mar-a-Lago, that estate where President Trump spends his weekends.
That's an anomaly.
But people are going in, buying there. Who are the people benefiting right now in a K economy? A K economy is simply the top end goes up and the bottom end's going down. Who's benefiting right now? It's those people on the top end of the K economy. And where are they buying? They're buying in Palm Beach County. They're buying it, but now we have some outliers. We have Mark Zuckerberg who's bailing, and by the way, he's not going to last. Mark Zuckerberg will not last here. I will bet the house he will not last here because he will not pass my three-step rule. Step number one, you come here, you party like a rock star. Step number two, you get serious or you're going down a bad streak. Step number three, if you haven't moved out of the party zone, you're going home to rehab or you're going to prison. Mark Zuckerberg's probably going back to a lack of humidity in the dry air of San Francisco. He doesn't stay more than 4 years.
So with that, we're talking about billionaires, right?
Larry Page, by the way, too.
So, yeah, Larry Page he bought 3 or 4 properties for average, I think the total sum was like $180 million in Coconut Grove. And Sergey Brin's been here for years. He's got a number of properties on Miami Beach. But we're talking about billionaires, right? What about, are normal people from California moving here? What does the driver's license data say? I mean, I know that we've come down from the peak of COVID, 2021, 22. You like to say people were twerking, not tweaking, or maybe tweaking on police cars.
They probably do both.
But the driver's license migration data does point out that we're still 16% above 2019 levels. So there is inward migration coming here from these places, and it's a regular cast of states who are doing it. It's New York, it's Texas, it's California. And they want to come to Miami. Why? Because of the pro-business, no drag shows. That seems to be a thing. I don't know. And no state income tax. Now, when you come here and you claim residency and you got your homestead, you do get a little bit of savings on your property taxes. Well, that might go away because of Governor DeSantis. I don't know how they're going to pay for it, but that's for another show. But what about the normal people, Peter? Because there was a survey that was done. I think WLRN did it, or maybe it was the Miami Herald. But they surveyed a number of young adults, 18 to 34 years old. And in Miami, over half of them said that they are planning to leave the city. And a third of those respondents cited affordability. So all these people want to move their companies here. Brian Armstrong, I think was mentioned in the Miami Herald article that mentioned Zuckerberg. He's the CEO, founder of Coinbase, the crypto trading platform. But what about the normal people? Where are they going to live? Because not everybody's paying $8 a foot for an apartment.
And this is why a good correction always solves that problem. We're seeing signs of the condo market cracking price-wise. Year over year, prices are actually coming down. Sales have fallen, but prices are coming down. As it starts to revert back to where we were, suddenly becomes much more affordable. It becomes much more reasonable. And then in terms of people wanting to leave, I would just throw out to you, if you look at Tri-County area, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, you look at Miami-Dade in particular, more than half of our population is foreign born. And what does that say? That says they probably got a passport. And if they got a passport, they're probably coming from an international type of community. Maybe they go up to Lauderhill because they like cricket like me and they're hanging out with the Trinidadians eating the roti. Maybe they go to Pompano because the Brazilians are there and they can do the samba. Maybe they're going to little Santo Domingo and Alapata. The people down here are raised with a whole bunch of adversity and they tend to travel. They want to see the world. They get a passport. I would argue some people I knew when I was going to school in Missouri, they weren't interested in a passport. They wanted to stay there. So, and, born and raised in the same damn town within the same damn house. Maybe that makes it's great for a country song. But in terms of this community, I think we're way too diverse and we're way too beyond that. And a lot of people want to go and they want to see stuff. And you know what they do? They do like the Aussies do. I worked in Australia. And what you do is once you get out of high school, the parents basically say, piss off for a year. Here's some cash, leave. You go, you see the world, you come back, and you're able to appreciate what you got. And I think that's what makes South Florida different. So every time I hear these surveys, is somebody who's been down here, traveled a lot around the world. That to me is why they do it, because they're more broad-minded.
Well,
if you ultimately come back.
But can they afford to come back?
That's when you buy right. When the market pulls back, you come in and you buy.
You're talking about timing.
Yeah, it's always timing. It's always timing. 100%. No, I think this is just normal. If this was Missouri, I'd say it's a different story.
All right,
and
California
here
dreaming
in Miami,
no more. California dreaming no more. Buy, sell, hold.
I'm a hold because I think they're all going back. Right now they're burning cash. They're falling into the whole power structure of Mar-a-Lago. I think they go back. I don't think they last unless they're retiring.
I'm buying it. I think a lot of them are retiring. Peter, we're talking about executives that don't go into the office, right? Like we're talking about guys worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. They make 3 really, really, really consequential, important decisions a day, and one of them might be in an office, the other one could be in a phone call, and the third one's on Zoom. So why can't you do that for Miami?
I know we're moving on, but let me just ask you, how many good sushi places are there and how many are affordable? There's not many in South Florida. If you're coming from California, that is an
Bellyfish.
aspect. What about good Mexican food? How many good Mexican restaurants are there? If you're coming
Mi
from California, and
rinconcito
I've spent some time out
mexicano.
there, I'm just saying
Es
there's
free.
cultural aspects that people will, just like the New Yorkers always talk about the water, the pizza, the bagels. There's going to be issues where a lot of people say, I got enough cash. Let me go back to California because I'm feeling homesick.
Yeah, but I mean, at least what everybody's talking about, the headlines with culture wars, this and that, left, right, up, down. But they're saying it's all about the taxes. Whether or not that's true, these guys are moving, or at least
We
they
didn't
are
talk about
purchasing here.
politics either. We did not talk about. I have a cousin in California. I was out there. Had a
We got to move
cousin,
on. We got
and
to move
she's
on.
like,
I got to keep us honest.
just real quick. So the cousin, the husband says, "Hey, we're thinking about moving to California. Will you answer some questions to your cousin about it? Moving to Florida from California." I said, "Okay, fine. What do you want to know? You want to know about the weather? You want to know?" No, no, no. Her first question: What's the recycling program like in Miami? I'm just telling you, this is a different mindset. It's a completely different mindset. You might be able to adjust, but after a while, you're going to go back to what you know. That's why blue tends to go to California and red tends to come to Florida, politically.
Vicky Lopez, Housing Advocate of the Year. She won an award from Miami Realtors, Peter. Housing Advocate of the Year. There's two sides to this story. So one, Vicky Lopez, affordability. She just got appointed the commission seat for, I think, what district was it in Miami-Dade Commission? Five? Is it three? A seat in the Miami-Dade Commission. But we know about Vicky Lopez. Why? Because she, after Surfside, after the tragic collapse in Surfside several years ago, she was the force. She was the tip of the spear for condo safety legislation. So if you've bought a condo in the last 6 months in Miami, your buyer rep should have, because it's Florida statute, provided you with meeting minutes, provided you with financials, provided you with structural integrity reserve study and milestone reports based on the health of that condominium building. And that didn't exist 5 years ago, Peter. If you were transacting in a condo, was it easy to get any of those documents I just mentioned from these HOAs?
No, was not easy, and supposedly it's easier now, but I've heard mixed reviews.
So whether or not, and I do think that eventually these HOAs will have to comply. I think this just went into law back in July, but the statute says that every condo board has to have a website and make these documents readily available for download. I mean, otherwise, guys like you and me are just calling these HOAs nonstop to deliver the requisite documents. And so Vicky Lopez was the advocate for this. I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of other people involved, and she had staff, and thank you for getting this done. But she was really the poster child of this condo safety legislation and all this reform. On the other side, she was a big proponent for Live Local. And so if you're just joining us for the first time today and you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, the Live Local Act is a workforce housing act. What is workforce housing? Workforce housing, not to be confused with affordable housing, but workforce housing is for folks who make between 80 and about 120%, or 80 to 120% of what they call the AMI. That's the average median income. And average median income, what is it, Peter? Like 80 something thousand dollars a year?
Ballpark, yeah. So somewhere in there.
Ballpark.
It begins with
Right,
an
so
8. It's got an 8 handle.
if you make up to about $105,000 a year, that makes you eligible for these workforce housing apartments. And so you get a better rate. You get, call it between 5 and 10% off of market rate, or depending on what market you're going into, and we're going to talk about this later in the show, it might actually be more expensive than market rate. But so Vicky Lopez was just miss housing for the last, 4 years. And so now that she's in the county commission seat, Miami Realtors has given her this prestigious award. It's the Nobel Peace Prize of housing. I like Vicky Lopez in this regard. There are other things that I don't like about Vicky Lopez, but they're not about real estate, so we're not talking about them on this show. But in terms of housing, Peter, I think she has really moved the ball forward in an environment that has always made it difficult. I mean, regulating condos here, that's a job that I don't want.
I don't think anybody wants it. I mean, think about it. You bring in experts, property managers and engineers and everybody else to kind of run these condos, and then you see if anybody will run for office in terms of sitting on the board of that condo association. It doesn't matter what their experience is, anything. So you might give them the best information and they can go ahead and go off on some tangent and vote for this, vote for that. So what Vicky was very important in doing is pushing forward and making stuff mandatory, bringing some transparency, bringing a process that didn't exist up until this point. However, she wasn't able to get it over the finish line. She got a long way over, but she didn't get over the finish line. What did she not get over the finish line? Yes, while there is information that's available to a prospective buyer, it typically happens once you sign that contract. What good is signing a contract, seeing it all, and wasting all your time? Why not make it readily available so everybody going in knows exactly what's going on?
It's supposed to be readily available, but if I may say, if that contract is cancelable on the day of closing, if they don't provide those documents. So I mean, you should provide these documents because inspection period, 10 days, doesn't matter. Financing contingency, 30 days, doesn't matter. If they deliver those documents to you 3 days out from closing, you can you need 7 days. I think it's 7 days. It used to be 3. Now it's 7 days. They have to deliver those documents to you and give you 7 days to review them. Otherwise, you cancel the contract. So yeah, they better provide that documentation. Otherwise, dude, we're going to be...
They provide it too late. Why don't they make it available from the start?
They're supposed to have a portal.
Well, yeah, but if you're a buyer, not for the general consumption.
No. I mean, you have to have a website. You have to have. I don't want to name a condo.
Joe Blow, like me, interested in a condo, and I want to talk shit about a condo. I can't go and pull up their documents. Now, Miami-Dade County makes it available through the registry, but the rest of the state does not. So if they follow the lead of Miami-Dade County, I think that's a great thing. And now that Vicky's on the county commission, maybe she could see what it could have been. So she got it 26 miles, but she didn't get it over that final 0.2 or whatever it is for a marathon, 26.2. She got it 26 miles, but we didn't get over the finish line. The information's there, but it's not readily available for the market to consume it. We still have a roadblock. And why do they have the roadblock? Because this will impact pricing. They do not want this out there because if this is a good building or a bad building, you're then going to be able to pay a price that's not based on a comparable. It's going to be based on how well managed is this building, how feasible is this building, and that's the part they came up short on.
You need to be able to quantify the health of a building. It's really important, and it's really difficult to do, and that's why you hire guys like Peter and I to help you do that. Because how many condos do we have in Dade County?
Well, Tri-County is 610,000.
A lot of
units.
Condos. Between how many
13,000. 13,000 associations.
Buildings to choose from. And so we're going to talk about one of these condo associations at the end of the show. But I want you to buy, sell, hold on Vicky Lopez, Housing Advocate of the Year.
I'm a buy on Advocate of the Year, but I'm a hold on Hall of Fame.
No, that's not the question. The question's housing. We're not talking
about. But I'm
about
saying the Hall of Fame for housing.
Oh, no,
I wouldn't put her in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, but I'd be a buy on. She's winning the MVP for a season. I don't know if she's going to in the Hall of Fame yet.
She's not done yet. I have faith that she can do more. Apartment supply over savings, Peter. So Peter, in 2024, those are the numbers I pulled. Developers delivered 18,600 apartment units across the Tri-County area. That's Broward, Miami-Dade County, and Palm Beach. The lion's share of that being in Miami-Dade, but they only filled 15,000 of them. So that's why, if you've been watching us for a little bit, we've been talking about these concessions that property management companies are giving to renters. Back in the day, you needed first month, last, and security, so 3 months worth of rent just to move in. Nowadays, Peter, they're asking for what, $1,000?
$1,000 security and first month rent. And if your significant other is a broker, they'll pay $1,000 commission. Therefore, it's all you're putting in out of pocket is 1 month rent.
So what's the deal? Why are they doing this, Peter?
Ultimately, these big boys realized they built way too much. The dirt was, or the money was cheap at the time, because remember, interest rate got cut to nothing. We had all these people flooding into South Florida, state of Florida, just like Idaho. Everybody was flooding into Idaho. Remember that? What's going on with the Idaho market? So everybody flooded in, and these developers said, listen, the money is out there. The market's here. The trees will grow to the moon. And they went ahead and they built all kinds of stuff. And now we're dealing with the fact that everybody's got a hangover. You need to lose weight. You need to stop drinking. You need to get off the binge. And that's what we're going through right now. We are going effectively into treatment. Call whatever treatment you want. Remember the addiction aspect I told you. Now we're going into that part where we got to clean up. We got to get our stuff back together. And that's what's starting to happen. And the problem is, or the advantage is, if you're a renter, it's good because you are going to have landlords subsidizing you to live in that place. If you were an owner of a particular unit and you're looking to rent it, you're probably going to get crushed by what is the Walmart of rentals. And those are real estate investment trusts and or corporate landlords. So if you got a couple units and you've been renting them and everything's great and you're looking at what the corporate owners are doing based on their price and you're saying, my place is nicer, that's a rental, I put all this money into it.
Sitting on the market for
those days are over. Yeah. Now the big corporate landlord, they become Walmart. So you were able to coexist, but now once they are squeezed and they need tenants, what they're going to do is they're going to start to cut and cut and cut. Race to the bottom. Have you taken an Uber lately? Uber came in, it was dirt cheap. Price it out now.
We got Waymos now. You know what a Waymo is, Peter?
I've been seeing them. They're driving all around. Yes.
They're driving all around. I priced it out. They're more expensive than Uber, but they don't have a driver. I don't understand that. So I want to talk a little bit about these developers and their multifamily buildings or developments. Do you think part of the reason why we're seeing so much of this is does it have anything to do with the price of material and labor exploding?
You know, it may. I did a podcast yesterday with a hard money lender, and what the hard money lender was telling me is money that they put out back in the day at a certain price, and right during the pandemic, ultimately they couldn't get everything necessary, and by the time they were able to get the materials, they had blown their entire budget. And suddenly these projects which would have been a home run if they would have been able to deliver on time, they turned into effectively, I don't know, basically here's the keys. We got to go because we're not going to make the numbers work. So I think the cost, but I think the timing aspect is probably much more important, the timing aspect. Because remember, it takes about a good 5 to 7 years to get a project off the ground. You find a piece of dirt, you fall in love with it, you buy it, you hire your experts, you sit down with city staff, you work things out. Then you got to go and actually build it, so on and so forth. I mean, because it's not real time, it makes it very complicated. Yes. So that's why you always get an overhang. That's why the real estate cycles typically go 7 to 10 years. Because when the demand is there, you go crazy. And then once you actually come online, it probably changed. And because it changed, everybody's got a different sentiment now. And what you thought was a home run, suddenly it's a backdoor strikeout. It's a called third strike.
So why don't they just build units that should rent for cheaper? I mean, we talk about this affordability crisis down here. Why not just build, I don't want to call it lower quality product, but yeah, lower quality product so that they can fill the units instead of having to give all these concessions to inflate these prices. Why give the concessions? Why don't you just drop the price?
Yeah, well, it's going to be the land cost, and that's why those developers who are successful, once the market goes to hell, those developers who move quick, the ones with battle scars, the ones who've built at least projects, they move quick. They understand if they come to market early, they're looking at a 50% profit margin on a condo. And once everybody gets in the game, you're looking 30% or so. So the ones who know, they come in and they're able to take advantage of it. So this is all just timing. It's timing. Listen, if you're Uber driver or you're Waymo driver, if they can talk, ask them what's going on with the real estate market.
I think the Waymo driver's in a call center in India.
Well, that's the thing. You ask them, is it a buy? And if they're buying, you want to be on the other side of the trade. That is the easiest way to do it. Ask your Uber driver, ask your Lyft driver, ask Waymo.
My Uber driver's got 15 Airbnbs out in Okeechobee.
What could go wrong?
He's got a cheap loan. It was only 12.5%. All right.
Everybody's coming to town.
Buy, sell, hold on apartment supply over savings.
Apartment supply over savings. I think apartment supply is leading to the savings. So
no,
if that's
the question is, and I jumped the gun. Apartment supply over savings was my hypothesis. Is the reason why all of these concessions are coming out is because the property managers, they're trying to get people to move in.
Yes.
I read some study that said moving is almost as stressful as having a divorce. I thought that was wild. I've never had a divorce, but I've had to move quite a bit. And let me tell you, it's pretty freaking stressful. So once you move in, it's a pretty sticky product. And in this market, we talk about affordability. When you have some of your constituents, some of your residents, some of this population here in Dade County spending upwards of 60% on their residence, on their rental, how the hell can they save for a down payment on a house? Right? So that's the savings part. So are developers, are multifamily developers seeing this, seeing that their tenants' inability to save makes them effectively a captive audience? Hey, we can build whatever we want. Because it used to be the thinking, well, our tenants wouldn't spend 30% more than their income on rent. And then developers priced accordingly because otherwise it'd be too expensive. And then they pushed the envelope. They said, they observed, hey, we have tenants that are spending 40% on rent. We have tenants spending 50%, 60% on rent, Peter. 60% of your income on rent. You're not saving for a goddamn thing. No IRA, no 401k, certainly no savings for a down payment on a house. So now all of a sudden you have these property managers with very captive audiences. They'll pay whatever it takes to not be homeless, not have to move to wherever. They want to stay here. They're local. They got families. So that was the crux of this topic.
I mean, right now it's like going to Bayside Marketplace. You walk around, they got all these different restaurants, and they're giving you a free sample. Taste this, taste that. That's what these property managers are trying to do. They're giving you that little piece of chicken, bourbon chicken, or whatever. You get to taste it. It looks good because they need to get somebody to buying the chicken. The chicken's not going to last long enough. And these units, they have to get a certain return. So they will go to whatever stuff's necessary in order to get you in.
So what are they making? Like a 2 cap on this? A 1.5 cap? What did you say Central Business District was going for? It was under 1%.
For a condo, under 1%. But here's the thing. A lot of these developers, what they're doing is they're using institutional money. So what they're doing is they're providing the value add. So they don't really care. They're managing it. They're collecting their fee. They're doing what they're doing. And institutional money is simply parking their cash, and they're being able to say in their portfolio, we got places down in South Florida. They're going to call it the Gables, but it's actually on 32nd Avenue and Coral Way, where they're putting up they're taking down the Renaissance, Daniel. The Renaissance. How many weddings have you been to? How many quinceaños have you gone there? How many divorce parties have you gone to in this old classic banquet hall located between Coral Way and US 1 right there on 32nd? This was the go-to place. I've even been to weddings there. I haven't gone to quinceaños. And in this climate, I would not go to one. But that being said, they're taking it down and they're putting up a rental. Somehow the numbers make sense to these people, or the land is cheap.
MG Developers is also doing a multifamily up there on Lejeune, I think piggybacking on the Freedom Park. Freedom Park, for anybody who is watching from home, is the fastest. I swear to God, I've seen those YouTube videos of them building skyscrapers in China in 24 hours, and it looks like that Freedom Park soccer stadium over there where Melreese used to be, the last public golf course in the county. They're building that stadium faster than anything I have ever seen. If they would have had that gumption to build the Signature Bridge, aka the Fountain Bridge, aka the Spider Bridge over there in downtown, that thing would have been finished in 2021.
Yeah, but you know why they're building so fast. You know why they're building the Freedom Park so fast.
It's a World Cup.
No, they're building it so fast, and I'm saying this tongue-in-cheek sort of, that land is contaminated. They had to remediate everything, and no worker wants to be there too long. They want to get in and they want to get out. They moved it all together in a pile in the middle that's fenced off that you won't be able to see, according to press reports. That's why they're building it fast. You got to get in and you got to get out.
Nice. Apartment supply over savings, Peter.
Yeah,
I'm buying the statement. They're supplying more than people can save.
I'm buying the statement. Yeah, I'm buying the statement, but I'm going to miss the Renaissance. And if you haven't been to the Renaissance, go check it out, 32nd and Coral Way, so you guys have a sense. It's right across from the bar called Asuka.
Ah, that's where it is.
Right down from Super Pizza.
I'm the proudest of this title. This is probably top 10 titles I've ever come up with for the rundown. Missoni Impossible. I even use the same letters. It's Mission Impossible, but it's the Missoni. So, guys, in this week of condo litigation, last week was Aston Martin. This week is our buddy, or he doesn't think we're his buddies, but seriously, we like what you've done, except this has problems. Missoni's got problems. There is litigation against Vladislav Dorin's Oko Group, OKO. I don't know if it was 558 because they don't publish 558 notices in the public domain, but they have moved on straight into full-on litigation for shoddy construction at the Missoni. What's going on here, Peter? I know you do a lot of walking tours around Edgewater. You got your ear on the ground. What are people saying about the Missoni?
So to give everybody history, over there in the Edgewater area, it's probably about like 26th, 27th or so, just east of Biscayne Boulevard. This gentleman came in with straw buyers. They went around and they bought up a bunch of houses. There were single family houses, there were duplexes, stuff like that. They rolled it all up, and there was a plan to put up a series of towers. They actually bought what they call the old monastery, which is also located right there. It's very close to where David Martin's putting up Villa Miami. So this project is a spectacular looking project. It's a project that has a name brand or a brand name associated with it called Missoni Bahia. And they went forward, and it sounded good. It sold well, but ultimately, once it came online, I think the buyers have started to realize when you go and you buy something from a developer doing their rookie job, even though they might have built elsewhere, when you're doing your first job here in Miami, it's always going to go sideways. I have not seen the developers been able to pull it off on the first go around. Even Fortune Development, when they put forward the Jade Brickell, they had to use Swire as a backstop in order to put that project up 20 something years ago. So the first project always goes sideways. It goes sideways. And I think what this is really an example of the project having gone forward. I mean, gone sideways in terms of the construction and the other things that have come across the board. Now, this developer's also put up an office tower right next to where Gecko is, Bad Bunny's restaurant, right over there by Brickell City Center. And he's got a project called Una that's coming on shortly. He's involved with a project out in Miami Beach in what was, I guess, the Faena district, even though Ellen Faena is now on the river, Miami River. This gentleman is also the guy who just put in part of the ante to buy the $520 million two pieces of dirt located just north of Ken Billion's site. So
don't forget about the office tower. Did you talk about the office tower? 830?
Yeah. Okay. Right next to Gecko. Because the Bad Bunny's the topic of conversation right now.
That's the place next to Gecko. Right. Gecko's right there.
Yeah. So ultimately, when an association takes over from the developer, they realize a couple things. One thing they realize is that all the services they were promised, they can't afford them. Developer was subsidizing, so they typically have to cut back or they have to raise maintenance. Another thing they do is they always hire experts, go in there, evaluate the construction, and then they sue. They sue. They always sue. Developer typically withholds certain assets within the building. Could be parking spaces, could be retail, and then they barter, they trade. So none of this is sort of new. The only thing that sort of catches my attention is this building's been online quite some time. It has come online a long time ago. And if you look at the percentage for sale, it's always high. And why is that high? And why is that important? Because typically at first,
29 units, I think, Peter.
Yeah, in that building, it's probably pushing it. But typically, at first you get the speculators out, the people looking to dump. But then later on, if you still see a higher number, that suggests there's some issue with either the building or the financial wherewithal of those people inside. So the fact that it's coming so late, it sort of raises red flags. Getting sued is not a big deal. But again, his first project here on the ground that I'm aware of, and it's going to be problematic no matter what, based on my experience.
So I did the Peter Zalewski, and I looked at the active sales data and trailing last 6 months. That's how we run comps, right? Looking at the last 6 months of sales, there's a $200 spread, 20% spread. Ask is $1,200 a foot roughly, and last 6 months closes $1,000 a foot. So effectively, I mean, what you're asking prospective buyers to underwrite the outcome of whatever this litigation is. There's a lot of condo projects in town, a lot of nice ones, by the way, that don't have active litigation. I mean, it's like people think you sue, you get a big check, you fix a building, and it's done. But guys, and it's a double-edged sword, because you feel like you got to litigate to get the money that you're owed to fix the building, but also once that goes into the public domain, every time for the next 2 months, whatever, Missoni Bahia condo, is it good? First 3 search results, you're going to get a Real Deal article with this headline on it. So I don't see things faring very well for sellers at Missoni Bahia today or for the immediate future.
No, and it's the wrong product in the wrong location. That type of product, I would say, the way I look at Greater Downtown Miami, and you're going to push back at me, Daniel, and everybody else out there is.
But this is Edgewater. Go even narrow in.
Edgewater. Okay, so Edgewater is where you start. That's your starter home. Central Business District is as you mature. Brickell Avenue is once you're mature and you're running the law firm. So they built a product that was not appropriate for that site. Granted, it's on the bay, but it's not appropriate for the
Beautiful
site.
views.
And yeah, but therein lies the problem. The product might be above average. The location, even though it's on the bay, is still going to be nothing more than average, in my opinion. And why would you say, well, how can it be average? It's on the bay. The problem is you can't get in and out. The traffic is such to go east-west in that area is so complicated that if you're some rock star and you're driving a Rolls Royce and you got a driver and all this type of stuff, you might like the building. You might rent there, but you're not going to want to buy it because it's such a pain in the ass to go anywhere, to go to a grocery store. All these things factor in when you're trying to put it together. So I think the way that the developer put it forward, he didn't really understand the marketplace. And this is typically a rookie mistake. They come in, they don't understand the market. They build something like they used to build back home. They apply their school of thought to this market. And when the market's humming, everything is selling. Once it all craters, then you see the reality.
Looking at what Vladislav's been doing, Mr. Doran's been doing, started at Missoni, not a great location. Next one did Una, Old Brickell, much better. Or they're calling it, I think they're calling it South Brickell now, Sobri. Somebody told me that the other day. But we might talk to him next week about that. And then his third project, he's doing the Amman up there on that's Alan Fana's old site. That's a Versailles, right?
Yes.
So is he on an upward trajectory in terms of land acquisition strategy?
Well, he's definitely dipping his toe in the water everywhere, because you remember we mentioned the office building, and he's in on the $520 million payment on Brickell Avenue.
Yikes.
The Brickell Bay site. Yeah, so I would say he's legit now. He's got street cred. He's gone through it. And, this lawsuit is just an example of learning how to build in the market, and he's still standing. So if I were betting him, I'd go long on the developer now, but early on, you always got to take the opposite side of the trade because they always crap out.
People aren't listening to you, Peter. They're not betting the jockey.
They never listen to me. They think I'm just some Chicken Little until it happens, and then they say, oh my God, this guy's right.
Bubble boy. All right, Peter. Are you buy, sell, hold on Missoni Impossible?
I think I would probably be the impossible part. I would be a buy because chances are they've already burned through all the cash. There's not going to be much there. They're going to settle, and the only people making money are going to be professional service people.
The lawyers. The only people happy are the lawyers and the scaffolding guys.
That's right. And remember, everybody, every $2 million of work takes 1 year of labor, according to a general contractor who does restoration work that I interviewed.
Wait, say that again. Help me understand.
So if you get a special assessment, and let's say it's $4 million, to actually do the work, the labor, the guys swinging hammers.
Every $2 million spend is a year of labor.
Is a year. Now, it's included. The labor's included in the price, but it will actually physically take 1 year ballpark to do every $2 million of restoration work or anything associated with a special assessment. So once this project goes forward and they settle this Missoni, and they settle whatever the settlement is, and they're going to apply it towards the building, divide that by 2 million. And every 2 million will be 1 year of work. So you might be spending your time on the weekend, and these guys are behind schedule, and they're swinging a hammer while you're down at the pool. And that's the issue you run into, and that impacts pricing. It's kind of like Wall Street. You want to buy on the rumor, or you want to effectively sell. As soon as you hear something bad, you bail. And that's what you need to think about with these condos.
So you're a buy on Missoni Impossible? Is it an
impossible? On it being impossible,
endeavor?
Yeah. They're not going to get what they think they got coming to them, and then it's all going to be taken off. The VIG will be with all the professional service people. They're going to end up with something, but they're probably going to have a special assessment, and/or they're going to endure whatever the issues are.
I'm going to sit back and eat my popcorn. And with that, folks, that is episode 39 of Buy, Sell, Hold Miami. Thank you for coming. Thank you for hanging out. If you're not watching live, thanks for tuning in after hours or on your weekend or maybe on your commute next week. Next week, Peter, we're on site next week with Mr. Andrew Raskin of Meta Development. He's our favorite boutique condo developer, and we cannot wait to talk to him. We hope you join into us live then. See y'all. Ciao.